All right. Good morning. Good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Hope you all are doing well. Later start to the stream today. I ended up starting a little bit later just because I wanted to, because I can. But then, of course, as soon as I try to go live, there's a storm outside. I think I've said before on stream that my power company, for whatever reason, ends up having these flashes like fairly frequently where the power just like flashes for like 2 seconds, but it's just enough to kill, the router, Wi-Fi, my computer, just everything. So it required a full restart. And of course that happened at like 9:27. So by the time I get everything fired back up and ready to rumble, we are, behind schedule, even more so than normal, but that's okay. I want to keep these streams casual and low pressure. And last week I didn't do it because I just felt like I wanted a little bit of time off just to chill. So that's what I was doing. And I mentioned recently when I was working on some of the block visibility stuff on stream that I had gotten this client project, and that was my biggest one ever, to be eclipsed just yesterday by my next biggest one ever, which is really incredible. So there's a bit of, not work overload, because actually, funny enough, my client work is at an all-time low right now, but revenue is trending consistently, versus last year, which is awesome. But yeah, it still doesn't change the fact that there's a lot of work to be done, a lot of craziness. Also, if you hear some sound in the background, it is some music that I have playing. So if you don't like it, then yeah, that's just that. I want a little bit of background noise myself. So here we go. Hope you all are doing well. Whenever you hop in the chat, let me know. I'd love to hear from you. Let me know. I always love to hear who's here, where you're from, that kind of thing. And hopefully you have your coffee of choice. For me, I just discovered there's a new specialty coffee shop down the way from my house in the opposite direction I normally go. But it evidently is pretty well reviewed. And there was a review that said something to the effect of, I haven't had a cappuccino this good since I went overseas. And I'm excited about that because there's only one coffee shop in my area really that's close enough that I actually enjoy. But when I'm out and about and traveling, then coffee shops are, they're my main go-to. I really enjoy finding a shop, checking it out, just chilling at it, that's always really enjoyable for me. So let's see here. Basically, there is quite a few things I wanted to talk about today. Obviously, there's some big news overnight. I also wanted to talk about events, calendar stuff, also some frameworks, and then revisit the idea of some custom blocks that we've done in the past. So let's go ahead and jump right into this topic here. So I'm sure by now you've already seen this news that Google Domains is shutting down and their assets are being sold to Squarespace, which is just, oh man. Oh, let's see. Where am I here? Oh, there we go. Yeah, so this is not particularly thrilling news. I'm not stoked about this. I think really the main reason is that for me, Google Domains has been great because it's so simple. And that's kind of the thing that I think is so appealing about it. It's been so simple for so long, and it's also been so affordable. I saw something that said it had just come out of beta in 2022. That may even have been this article. I don't recall. Oh yeah, here it is. Exited beta in 2022. That's crazy. I guess maybe for some of the other countries, it's been available in the US for quite a few years, and it's just really, really frustrating. Good morning, Amanda. Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. I'm glad you could make it. Normally you're out on the beautiful shores, soaking in the sun, getting some drinks going. The weekend started early. I love to see all your posts. But yeah, I hope you're doing well. Good to see you. So yeah, the thing that I think that is most concerning about this for me is there was a line in this particular article that said that they were going to support the same cost for a year. Let's see. Exclusive domain provider for any purchasing their workspace subscription for a minimum of 3 years. But I thought they said something about the renewal price. Oh yeah, here we go. It will honor all existing Google Domains customer renewal prices for at least 12 months following the closure of the transaction. So the thing that I read into that is that there's actually no obligation for them beyond that first year to keep the $12 a year domain price, which is a big reason why I advocated, client sign up on this. I have many, many domains myself, as I'm sure you probably do. And so that is really frustrating because, really the only option for me is going to be to move everything to Cloudflare and keep, Cloudflare as the domain registrar. I actually don't even know what the Cloudflare domain registrar pricing. I don't even know what they charge. You pay what we pay. All right, well, tell me what that is. Did I miss it? Wholesale pricing. Yeah, I want to transfer. Just tell me the damn price. Oh, here we go. What? Just tell me the price. $803 a year. Okay, so is it even a little bit cheaper? Wow. If that's the case, that's pretty awesome. Your annual cost is $8 a year. Okay, so even if it's marginally cheaper, that's a huge win. But you still have to actually change the registrar and go through that whole process. I guess it actually is kind of good timing that I've been lagging behind a little bit because I made a video a couple weeks ago talking about moving to GridPane and also to changing all client DNS to enabled in Cloudflare. And there's not that many client domains that I actually have control of in terms of, ownership. It would be clients that I, have full faith and trust in me. But for the most part, I like to keep the registration with them so that no matter what, they have the domain. But yeah, I mean, this whole process is gonna be even more messy now is what I'm trying to say. Not only will I have to change the name servers for some clients, but also the registrar for others. It doesn't support the EU and .ie TLDs, really? Wow. I imagine being, near enough to mainland Europe that probably impacts you, Amanda. That's crazy. I would not have guessed that. Hopefully I can say your name right. Prabhakaran? It says, very good DNS time and security than Google. Yeah, I think that's a big benefit. I said in my videos a couple weeks ago that I had already seen a couple points of increase, with GT metric scores, just simply by moving to Cloudflare. And yeah, Amanda, I figured. I had already seen a couple points of increase in terms of GT metric scores just simply by moving to Cloudflare before even migrating servers. Not huge, but enough that it was noticeable. And then migrating to GridPane, it was even more. So the combination of those two things is really great. I have to imagine that it's kind of one of those like the sum is greater than the parts with Cloudflare and GridPane combined. But I've also been lagging to move all my clients over. It's just one of those things. It's like it's kind of priority, but it's also like not the highest priority, so it's a little bit frustrating. So the thing is, we don't know yet how this is actually going to take place. Will we keep the Google Domains interface and they'll rebrand it as Squarespace? Will they somehow transfer behind the scenes and end up into a Squarespace dashboard? That is something that I'm not stoked about and really not interested in finding out. So this says roughly 4 months from now, I think is what it said, is the transition period. I forget exactly where. The other thing that's funny is there's a website called Killed by Google. I'm sure you guys have probably all seen this. It's all the properties that Google has killed off. So there's an element of this where it's like, what product can you even trust that's going to stay stable long term by Google? I haven't made the leap to Fathom Analytics, and I mean I don't really do anything complicated with analytics, so Fathom would be more than appropriate. But it's like with GA4 and the headaches that everybody's been experiencing with that migration, and then who knows what other products or people are using behind the scenes. I mean, Workspace has obviously been stable for all these years, probably because they make recurring revenue off of it. But even then, I would imagine that it's not that big of a blip on their radar. I mean, relative to their core search business, maybe. I guess they kind of tie in together. But it's just interesting how much stuff they've killed off. Like, look at all this stuff. A lot of this stuff I don't even know. Well, I mean, Stadia was a big one. That was crazy. Yeah, YouTube Originals. Google surveys. Yeah, I mean, there's just so many things. Like the other thing that was so frustrating when they killed it off was, remember the Google URL shortener? Thankfully, they left the URLs working, but man, I had used those all over the place. And then it was like, see ya. So many things. When did they kill that off? Google URL shortener. They had it for 10 years. Why? Just doesn't make any sense. So yeah, that's you know, a little bit concerning. So I guess I'm going to be making the leap to switch everything over to Cloudflare fully, you know, registering everything in Cloudflare and moving everything over slowly over the next few weeks and months. It's like, gosh, I got to dedicate resources to doing that now too. It's crazy. It seems like there's a lot of sort of not upheaval, but you know, a lot of changes going on, at least maybe in my own business, which makes it feels like there's a lot of other stuff going on. So yeah, I'm curious, what do you all feel? How do you guys feel about this domain transition? I think the general consensus so far is yuck, but for me, it's like, ugh, that's how I feel. Just a head drop. Very curious though, are you gonna leave your stuff? You gonna end up moving to somewhere like Cloudflare or somewhere else? Yeah, agreed, Amanda. Cloudflare definitely isn't going anywhere. That's definitely true. It's been so stable for so long, and I feel like their core values are pretty, you know, aligned with something that I would like to be a part of. So that seems to be the place to go. And especially because if you're already managing your DNS there and benefiting from, like Prabhakaran, hopefully I'm saying your name right, mentioned the, you know, improved security and speed, then it's like, it's kind of a win all the way around. Yeah, so I think that's the answer. I think moving to Cloudflare is going to be the way to go. Very interesting stuff. The other thing I wanted to, well, there's quite a few different topics that I wanted to cover today. They only seem to be getting better with additional features. Yeah, it seems like they're innovating quite a bit too. Like they were the ones that came up with the CNAME flattening and, you know, those different strategies. So it's like, surely they're kind of on the cutting edge of innovation and all those security and performance enhancements. And it's, I mean, I said it in my video, but it's crazy how just immensely powerful the free plan is. Like the level of stuff that you get just in the free plan is crazy. I mean, I've already run up against wanting more page rules for certain sites, but like, you know, for instance, on a site that has like WooCommerce or, you know, easy digital downloads, being able to just go into the page rule and exclude caching rules and all that kind of stuff is just, it's so powerful. It's really, really great. I'm a big fan. So with that, I'm going to have more work cut out for me. Now, I'm going to move on from Google Domains, and I want to talk about PiCalendar. So of course, many of you know that this is the plugin that Elijah Mills and myself have developed. It's an event calendar plugin, and it's extremely flexible, really dead simple, and something that I am wanting to, you know, create more content on. Just like I said, with other stuff getting in the way, I haven't had the opportunity to make a formal video in here. So we're going to talk about that. Going back to Amanda's question, I need to get up on my rules game. Would you be exploring trainings on that? Yeah, I actually do have a list of good page rules for the free plan. So I have a video titled X Essential Cloudflare Page Rules. One of them is WP admin hardening. One of them is how to bypass the cache. So if you think that you're, you know, having difficulty with caching and during development, or, you know, as a site is live and you're making changes, that is another one. And then, you know, for e-commerce sites like Easy Digital Downloads and Woo, there's some caching rules that you can put in place there. It's a little tough because, you know, with the free plan on each domain, you get 3 page rules and you can use those up pretty damn quick. So it kind of depends, you know, you sort of have to weigh which one makes the most sense for, you know, your individual use case. But in terms of that you know, video, I have it on my agenda. So that's definitely going to come at some point in the future, Amanda. Now, in terms of the PiCalendar stuff I wanted to talk about, I wanted to just create a little demo and show you how this can work. So while I'm firing up an install real quick, I wanted to just explain that the idea is that this is a stripped down, intentionally stripped down version of some of the more complicated events plugins out there. So the idea would be that, you can build an events plugin, an event site that's extremely flexible and specifically, built in a way that it's exactly as you need it. Whereas a lot of the other events plugins that exist currently, of course, they don't have a lot of flexibility. You're locked in pretty much every way. Let's see. So I have this install. I'm going to fire that up. Find that when you start a local site, it seems like it just hangs and hangs while it initially loads. It kind of moves, but I get really frustrated at how long this seemingly takes. Like I said, when I first started, I had this local site pulled up, and then of course the power flash, like I said, because of the storm. So, okay, here we go. One thing I wanted to mention, I might as well just do it because it's already working here, is I created a video on the PiCalendar channel of how to submit an event from the front end, which is pretty sick. So I'm not going to go into great detail on that because I have a full video on how specifically to do it. But what I did was use Gravity Forms and their front end, post creation, or I think I'd call it like advanced post creation, something like that, and was able to create a form that automatically adds the event to calendar. So I'll just show you real quick. Let's just say like front end event test. Our start date, let's see, what's today, the 16th. We'll do June 16th. Our start time will be, what time is it? Almost 10. And then let's say the 17th, in time 10 is all day is no. And if we submit, then front end event test is there. So this is something that a couple of users had requested, and it's actually something that you can do with the free version or in the pro version. I think this is so cool. There's a lot of use cases for this, especially because you can control whether the post is in draft mode or is published, on the front end once it actually goes live, or once it's actually submitted, I should say. So this is something that I just feel like is so cool. It took me a little while to figure it out, but once I got it, it was just so simple to show how to do it. Now, the thing is that I have in this website created an events CPT. So if you're not familiar with custom post types, of course, it's a way to organize your content. I have lots of videos that involve creating custom post types. You can do it in standard small business sites for team members or locations. Those are really common. Then, of course, you have the events. So all I did was create a post type with CPT UI, and I just named it events. And then the only thing you have to keep in mind is that down here in the support section, you just need to make sure this custom fields is turned on, and typically you're going to want editor. So we're going to turn that on too. So we can save this. And then actually, if I look real quick at the post I just created from the front end, this is that front end event test. So this went to my posts section. And if I edit it, once it loads, then we can see that the calendar toggles are turned on, our June 16th at 10 a.m. and our June? Yeah. I was like, wait a second, is it July? No, it's not July. Our options are turned on here. With this particular install, I have PiCalendar Pro on. So if I wanted to, I could go ahead and build out the fields from the front end to make this recurring. I didn't do that because I wanted it to work with the free version, but you can see that that all works. Now, what I wanted to actually demonstrate here was that I could create a separate post in a different post type and say, what is our event going to be? Google domains RIP. So we'll add some content and then show on calendar. We'll say yesterday because that's when the news actually dropped. Oh no, reconnection successful. I think I'm back now. I got a little notification that said OBS was disconnected. Now we're connected. If any of you can let me know, are we back? I certainly hope so. This bad weather is not ideal for streaming, especially for someone that has instability. Okay, great. Thank you, Amanda. Awesome. That was weird. I don't know what happened. Nothing even changed. OBS just gave me a notification that said it was disconnected. Okay. We are back. Ivan, good to see you. I didn't know you were lurking here in chat. Anybody else that's hanging out, let me know where you're from. Drop a message in the chat and let me know you're here. Ivan, I don't think I responded to your message yesterday, so sorry about that. Or did I? I think I did. I can't remember. It's been a little hectic. Oh, I did. I did respond to your message. I saw your name pop up and I was like, oh no, I think I forgot, but I didn't. So there we go. Okay, so back to what I was saying. I'm creating a post in the events post type, and so this is set to the 15th. So if we publish this, then we can go refresh our calendar here on the front end. And then there is our Google Domains RIP post on the 15th. Greetings from Saudi Arabia. Awesome. Glad to have you. We got a worldwide audience. So the benefit of this, as you can see, is that with PiCalendar, you can pull in events from multiple different post types. The other thing is that I've had people say, can we add a map to the calendar or, to our post? And that's the beauty of this, is that you can build whatever you need. If you want to add a map, you could just simply, on your post, you could just embed something. You could paste in a link to Google Maps, whatever you want. Dave, hello from Ireland. Hello. I think I'm going to sound like an idiot here, but I always get confused with Ireland and the Ireland situation. So Amanda, I always forget where you're actually from, but hopefully you can clarify for me, because I was going to say I think we have multiple people from Ireland in here, but then I was like, wait a second, I don't know if that's actually correct. Not sure if that's wrong. Ivan says, I'm actually from Hong Kong, which is the other side of the world, so I'm always lagging for my messages. Yeah, so I think I've mentioned before on stream that I've imported a couple of cars from Japan. That's something that I love cars. That's my like kind of side hobby. And from where I am, in terms of time zones to Japan, I just flip the time of day, if it's AM or PM, and then add 2 hours. So I'm curious what the Hong Kong one is. Let's see. Current time, Hong Kong, 10:56. Oh, okay, so it's very similar. It's just one less hour. Yeah, so no wonder our messages are always lagging, Ivan. Absolutely. Yeah, so this is what I just wanted to show real quick with this events post. That way, you can build whatever you want. So I'm really pleased with how this has come along. The recurring function I've showed in a different stream. I can touch on that in a second. But really what I wanted to get across is a big part of this is that we've created this free version in the plugins repo. And I would like to ask, if you can give it a shot, install it on your site and run it through its paces and see what you think. The thing about this is that we've uncovered a few different kind of hidden bugs and just a few different extra use cases that we didn't anticipate. And so I'm really looking to ramp up the testing and the installs. I don't know how often the repo, updates, because this number doesn't seem to change all that often. It takes like weeks between when the numbers actually update. But I really want to start cranking this number, because there's definitely like a social sort of credibility factor to this, where if you see a plugin that has 40 active installs, you're like, oh, okay. But if you see a plugin that has 4,000, then you're like, okay, this must be pretty decent. And the other thing is, of course, we have a ton of different reviews. Well, not a ton, but what I was going to say is we have all 5-star reviews at this point. So people are very pleased with this. And I don't want you to leave a review if you haven't used the plugin. But if you find yourself feeling compelled to leave one because the plugin is good or deserves it, we would very much appreciate that. Haven't quite cracked the code on what the ranking factors look like in the plugin repo. But, there's a huge opportunity because other events plugins have hundreds of thousands of installs, and we aren't expecting to crack that. The big thing is that we intentionally don't do as much as the other plugins do. So, that's something that I think is, it will be a limiting factor, but that's an intentional choice. So, we're not going to get everybody under the sun. But when people understand that, you don't need an events ticketing system built in because you can do it with EDD or your form plugin or whatever, it opens up a world of possibilities. So it would be great if, whether you're watching this now or later, if you could check out the plugin, it would be very much appreciated, just to make it nice and easy. I'm going to drop that in chat. So I would love to know if you have any specific questions about it. Ivan actually was requesting additional filters. And let me check real quick, because I know that Elijah actually worked on this just recently. Let me see if I can pull up a version. URL events query. I think he worked on a taxonomy filter. It might not be ready. Let me look. Taxonomy and then terms. Add some filters and free. Okay, so it's not ready yet. There's currently a bug, but I was hoping to show it on the stream. Unfortunately, I can't do that because obviously it doesn't work. But the idea is that we're going to have the taxonomy filters built in to the front end shortcode. So let me quickly show that. With this calendar right here, this is showing up with this PiCalendar shortcode down here. Let me make sure I'm not covering this up. Yeah, I'm not. Okay. So with this, I could go and add the type parameter, and I could say events. And then what's going to happen on the front end is now I'm only going to get posts that are in that events type. So despite the fact that my posts are also set as calendar events, I'm only going to get that one, which gives you the ability to show this calendar in different places with different sets of posts on it. I just had somebody who reached out and said that they have groups of teams that all have dedicated pages in their admin dashboard, or not admin dashboard, but in their logged in pages. And so they want to be able to show a calendar per team, and this filter lets them do that. That particular person wanted even more granular control, and the taxonomies are going to let them do that. So that's something else. Also, the other thing is, Ivan, I think it might have been you. Somebody asked recently about WP Grid Builder and how to filter posts. I haven't had a chance to test it, but Elijah was creating a filter that would allow us to manipulate the that would allow us to manipulate the query arguments. And with that, the ability to do that is, coming, I believe. I haven't tested it yet, but with that ability to modify the query args, we should be able to add what WP Grid Builder needs to be able to filter. So what I'm envisioning is like if you have, a query loop on one side and you have your calendar on the other, as you filter with WP Grid Builder, it's going to filter both your, repeater or query loop or whatever. And then, the other side, it will filter the calendar. So in my head, it works. Haven't tested it yet fully, but that should be something that we can do in the near future. I'm looking forward to that. And we're also getting pretty close to another update. This is a kind of a quality of life update for the free version, but still plenty more stuff to come. Yeah, I'm curious what the use cases you have for this are, Ivan. Clearly, you've come up with some great stuff. So I'm curious, if you what kind of situations you're finding yourself wanting to use this for. He said, have you considered coming up with a series of pages with topics like PiCalendar versus events calendar versus all in one? Yeah, see, it's definitely on the radar. Really, we're just focusing on kind of the development and basic, promotion like this, rather than going up against the big boys just yet. It's on the agenda, though, because I know when I was visiting GridPane's website to evaluate them, there was quite a few pages that were like, GridPane versus Cloudways or whatever. Those sorts of pages I do often look at, and it's something that is valuable information. I mean, obviously, it can be a little bit biased, but the biggest hurdle, I think, for us is just getting people to understand that this is something that's extremely flexible and can be, as simple or as complicated as you want. So yeah, again, just rounding off this portion, please go check this out, install it on your site, give it a run. If you have any feedback or, if you have questions, feel free to use this support tab, and you can see that we respond quickly. We can help you with questions, or if you have suggestions, that would be really great. And then that way we can hopefully climb the ranks in the repo. Right now we're on page 2. If you type in calendar, really want to get that up to, as close to the top of the page as we can. And then we'll see what comes after that. All right. I had on my list here to create a CPT and a front-end submission and the reviews, and there we go. All right. Perfect. Okay, so I will go ahead and just use this install that I already had to do the next thing. The other thing I was curious about, and actually, you know what? I'm not going to use this install. Look who it is. Late as always. Man, I wish that you would show up on time, Taylor. You're a mod after all, dude. Tisk, tisk, my boy. No, I'm just joking. Glad to see you here, dude. Welcome in. So far, we talked about the Google Domains situation and then some PiCalendar stuff. And then now I'm going to switch over. Let's see here. Playing tennis at David Lloyd's. Oh, man, that sounds amazing. That actually sounds a lot of fun. What I wanted to do was... I think I'm going to leave this install alone. I thought I had an install that I was playing with. Something that I wanted to show. What is this site? So many local ones for testing purposes and videos and course stuff. Oh, speaking of, I just released module 6 of CSS Made Easy. That's coming. Let me do a couple of things. I'm going to go to my site real quick. So here on the website, I have, let me make sure I'm not covering this stuff up. Yeah. So Generate Made Easy is open. The Generate Blocks Alpha 1.8 is coming sometime soon. Of course, we've looked at that already on last week's stream, but I am going to be doing a full overhaul of Generate Made Easy, and that will be later this year. I gotta finish CSS Made Easy, and that's gonna be completed hopefully in just a couple of weeks. So like I said, I just released module 6 for CSS Made Easy. And I have 9 to 10 modules planned. They've kind of ebbed and flowed as I've gone through the content and just realized, some things need to be combined or added or removed. So 9 or 10 modules, including the challenges and skills checks. So that's going to be coming to completed relatively soon, and that will reopen for sale. So make sure you're signed up for that list if you're not on it. The other thing is I also have a new product that I quietly launched called Proposals Made Easy. Had quite a few sales and already getting great feedback on this. It's really affordable, and the idea is that it's my exact proposal process. There's a lot of other bonus goodies in it, but I want to make sure that you are familiar with this because this is a great product. As you know, I don't have any kind of like monthly membership. So if you're not interested in the courses, but you might benefit from the proposals, definitely check that out. So make sure you pay attention to this little tab here. I'll of course send emails and stuff, and that's something else I need to do is clean up my email list a bit, kind of merge and combine. But just wanted to mention the proposals. Taylor has it. I don't think I've gotten a review from Taylor yet, but I hope to in the near future. So that's all I got to say on that one. Let me take a look at this site real quick. What is on this one? Yeah, you're right, Ivan. I definitely need to give some consideration to format/type would be a simple way to group events, making it easy for visitors to discover. Yeah, for sure. Agree. Okay, I think this site will work. I don't know how out of date this is. Oh, you just sent me a link? Oh, what's this? Playground? WordPress Playground, plugin PiCalendar, URL admin. Is this just like oh, this is that playground you were talking about. Cool. Yeah, okay. So you can offer like a free playground to see PiCalendar in action or whatever you want. How long do these installs last? Oh. Oh, wow. So it just like fires up immediately. Temporary. Refresh on page refresh. Persistent stored in browser. So if I refresh, does it just go away? Whoa, that's cool. That's actually super sick. It's kind of crazy. You learned about this at WordCamp Europe this year, right? This is a cool, fun, experimental WordPress running in your browser. All your changes are private and gone after a page refresh. Wow. Very cool. Yeah, I wonder how viable it would be because, if this is some kind of like alpha experiment, I wonder if they would end up taking it down. But if the idea is that you can like play with different sort of sandbox environments that are super easy to fire up and you're not worried at all about persistent storage. That's pretty cool, dude. It's really interesting. I've never noticed, or maybe it's new, that whenever you're streaming, Discord like hides people's names. It just puts their first letter and then like ... I guess so you don't dox your friends if you accidentally show Discord on stream. It all runs locally. Oh, okay. I guess that's why you have the ability to change it to persistent. Pretty cool. Hey there, Shatton. Good to see you. Little late, no worries. Taylor was really late too, so it's just a late party today, that's all. Ivan says, but they're not like tag or category, which is something that I find hard to tell when to use which. Perhaps you could share your thoughts on when to use category and when to use tag. Yeah, it's interesting because I think, the difference between category and tag in terms of when I use them, I rarely use tags. I mean, for me, what I'm doing is creating custom taxonomies and almost always setting them as just category, but you can set them as hierarchical so that way it acts like a category. It really depends. I mean, I think both approaches would be fine because in terms of, a taxonomy filter, it's not really going to matter that much. Either one is going to work. For me, I think categories are just, easier and more simple to understand. Especially for clients, tags kind of have like a Google SEO connotation to them, and taxonomy, categories just work fine. So for me, I think I just rely on categories for the most part. So I don't know if that really answered your question, but yeah, for me, I don't really use tags that often. PiCalendar Pro is out. Yes, indeed. I haven't made a video on my channel yet, but we kind of took a look at it a little bit ago. The recurring events is working great. So you might check that out if you're interested. What was I doing before I got sidetracked with this playground situation? I remember. Hold on. I got to do something real quick over here. I don't actually know if I have what I wanted downloaded, so I got to check real quick. Yes, I do. Okay. Here we go. The other thing that I wanted to look at and ask if any of you have played with or what your thoughts are on it is the core framework. So this is currently in, I don't actually even know if it's technically a beta yet. It's alpha/beta. This is the core framework from the team behind Oxy Ninja for Oxygen. And this is like a modern spin on their kind of foundational framework for Oxygen. And what what they've done is build a plugin that's a framework that becomes completely independent, doesn't require Oxygen or any builder specifically. So I took a look at it briefly, and initially I was like, this has some merit, this is cool, but obviously using generate blocks right now, it's a little bit clunky to use. They're working on it. David's told me that them getting the classes and stuff working in Gutenberg is something that's on their radar. And there's also some other cool stuff. So we'll see. Thanks, Taylor. See you later, dude. Enjoy. I wish I was there. So let's just take a look at this real quick. So if you haven't seen this is what the back end of the product looks like. So what I'm excited about with something like this is not necessarily even specifically the core framework, but what I've been looking for some time now is a way to build sites that I'm not giving really any consideration to things like spacing or colors. I'm defining the colors on the front end, based on the site and the branding guidelines of that particular project. And then maybe choosing a different font. But after that, it's like, I don't want to think about the heading sizes or the spacing or any of those sorts of things because they should be consistent, across the board. I don't want to give any thought to, creating subheadlines and those sorts of things. I want that to be all defined on the front end and then not have to think about it at all. So, I know that there are obviously frameworks and tools out there, but none of them have really fit what I'm personally trying to do with websites, which is to make development so seamless and so fast that I don't even have to, think about it. I can just bang in the content and then you're pretty much good to go. So this particular approach for me is exciting. It seems a little bit more accessible than some of the other things that I've tried. And also the flexibility of this is so great because, you can add additional colors, for instance, you can add groups of colors. And this is the kind of thing that I would want to be able to do because I can come in here and manipulate these extremely easily. And then it just works out to the front end. So there's all these other kind of automatic typography settings, font classes. Here's your actual CSS selectors and the properties and values for your headings, line heights, all those sorts of things. Then the spacing. This is the spacing is something that I really want to, like I just said, not think about at all. And so the thing is, it's like if I add an H2, I don't want to worry about adding any kind of margin class or gap class or any of that. What I'm trying to do is break this down to be as simple as possible, because the vast majority of the time, the sites that I'm building for clients, these are not sites that are designed to look flashy. They're designed to operate extremely efficiently, solve whatever business, issue, use case they have. And nobody is concerned about making it look like, the most modern website ever. It needs to be functional over its form and be consistent, reliable, behave in a way that people expect a business website to behave. And so there's no need to be building this stuff from the ground up every single time. That's kind of my point. So Ivan says, does this play well with generate press and generate blocked? In terms of how it functions, if you go manually add the classes right now, it certainly does. However, in terms of the backend preview, you don't see the actual changes that you're making with the classes, but I know David is working on that. He showed me something that I won't reveal just yet because it's not ready, but he showed me a way that this is going to end up working in the backend so simply and amazingly well that I'm pretty stoked about it. Dave says, have you looked at ACSS for GPGB? No, I haven't, because the last thing I heard is that it wasn't fully functional. I could be wrong. I know Kevin and I talked about it on our stream that we did. What has that been, like 2 months ago now? But yeah, I haven't looked at it directly. Whenever he gets a working version of it, I'll definitely take a look at it. Yeah, I thought the same thing was true with ACSS, that the that the classes and stuff didn't load in the Gutenberg editor. Maybe I'm wrong there. Could definitely take a look, because I think he did give me a copy of automatic CSS. I just haven't had a chance to use it yet. Shatton says, so for fluid sizes, this is what I did with this online generator until now. Now give it a minute. Now give it a min max and it generates the fluid clamp stuff. That's exactly what I believe happens here. Yeah. Yeah, let's see. I think there's a way to view the CSS. Do you preview? And then let's look. Once it generates the preview, if I search like H1, yeah, here you go. You can see exactly what I just said. I think that's what you're asking, right, chat? And let me see if I can zoom in on this. Oh gosh, too much. Oh no, I bricked my computer. It did not like me zooming in on that. Here we go. Oh wow. Where did I go? H1. Yeah, here we go. This is what you were asking for. So I just searched H1 to find it in the CSS preview here. And this is the font size. Min, max, and clamp. All just done for you. To be honest with you, I don't actually even know if this is how, the automatic CSS stuff works. So it very well could be this is, another option. Gosh, this zoom just like absolutely annihilates my browser. This is so weird. Look at that. It's like flashing and stuff. This is so strange. There we go. The other thing that's really cool. Good Lord, I gotta like reformat my computer and work on that. This is the other thing that I think is really exciting about this particular framework for me is these components. So the thought that I had with this is I like this approach because it gets me away from these block tools. And then like one of the big reasons I moved to Generate Press and Generate Blocks was kind of to get closer to WordPress core. And one of the thoughts that really struck me was like, if this sort of blow up happens again, like, with the transition from Oxygen and Breakdance and that sort of thing happens again, then I want to be as close to WordPress core as possible. And this particular approach is exciting for me because this gets even closer to WordPress core, where you're building these components that aren't reliant on any kind of block framework. They're not reliant on really any third-party tool to some degree. I mean, this is a third-party tool, but you get what I'm saying. It's generating the CSS and you're just adding the class to the element. So it's like I could go through and build my components because, again, the vast majority of the time, regardless of what client side I'm actually working on, the buttons are going to look fairly similar. They're going to look buttony, and they might have a border radius, they might not. But with these sorts of things, you can create a new component. So if I go down here and I click a button, I can create a new one and I can adjust all the CSS properties in 2 seconds, have all these hover effects. You have the hover pseudo class built right in. It's like, this is the kind of thing that I'm after. It's something that's just so dead simple that I can set up once and not think about again. So I'm pretty excited about this. Being able to build these components yourself is pretty awesome. There's of course, all this stuff in here is the defaults. Once the ability to work with these components inside of the builder becomes easier, and you don't have to, scroll down to the advanced tab, add the class, publish, and view on the front end to actually see it, then this is going to be a lot more powerful. So I'm pretty stoked about this. Is this a beta or something I want it? Yeah, there's a Facebook group called Core Framework, and I forget what the website is. Let me see if I can drop that in. I don't remember what it is. Turns out when you search Core Framework, there's a lot of other stuff that pops up, and WordPress doesn't really help either. There's a Facebook group for Core Framework, and it's by the team, from Oxy Ninja for Oxygen, which is, the core framework then, but now it's more independent. Right now, there is an integration with Bricks and Oxygen. If we take a look, you can turn on these classes and colors, and then they will show up in the classes, whatever you call it, dialogue inside those tools. Obviously, there's not a direct integration with Generate Blocks right now, but that's definitely coming. So just to demonstrate, if I were to go into this page, I think there's a bunch of crap on this page. I'm just going to delete this stuff. If I wanted to add a class to this heading, let's say, then, the way that I have to do that is go to advanced and additional CSS classes, which is obviously clunky. I think I'm covering this up. I am. There we go. I have to come in here to additional CSS classes and say, my custom class. But I told David that for this to be viable, there's got to be a better way to add classes, and it can't be buried down in the advanced tab. It also has to show the preview here in the back end. So that's something that I know he's working on, and it's high priority for them. So I'm really, really excited about this. Dave says, I'm a Bricks hound and haven't really looked at GPGB. It's on the list. The thing is, I think that people have this kind of like affinity for Bricks because it's like perceived as, I think that people misunderstand how powerful Generate Press and Generate Blocks are. I'm not sitting here saying that it's the absolute best thing in the world. There are drawbacks, but the reality of it is that you can build an equally complex and site that's as fast in this tool, and you can't argue that this is a simpler approach. I mean, once you get used to it, the people who bitch and moan about it are the people who haven't spent enough time with it. I can promise you that. Thanks, found the group since I also didn't... There's a stupid heart in the way of the most recent chat message. How do I get rid of this? So I can like drop in a heart, but I can't read the last like 2 words of your message until the next message comes through and it bumps up. That's so weird. I don't understand that. Found the group, since also didn't find anything simple on Google. Yeah, exactly. So I think this core framework thing is very exciting. The other thing is that, let's see, I had a Block Studio dev site that I wanted to touch on real quick. Yeah, Dave, they're all just tools, 100%. I'm not one to board the argument bandwagon. That's really not my cup of tea in terms of, trying to convince people that my way is the best way. It's just, you need to come to that decision on your own for it to really be a decision you feel comfortable with and stick with. So it's not an angle that I'm really willing to take, but I encourage people to take the time to use these tools, specifically Generate Press and Generate Blocks. And the result that you come up with is really great. Yeah, you're exactly right, Dave. I like the idea of being closer to core. Andre says, the fact that I have to use Gutenberg to use it makes me sad. I prefer Bricks because I can then use Classic Editor to add the content. I don't know how you could prefer Classic Editor over this sort of interface, because Classic Editor is like text only. So it's like, I mean, maybe if you're going to write, CSS, but Classic Editor is like as bare bones as it gets. I mean, if you're doing only blog posts, maybe. The thing is, there's a lot of cases where you have more flexibility in the block editor than you do in Classic Editor. Like for instance, if you want to add like a call to action section that's like a reusable block, you can rearrange it and put it wherever you want. It's just so much more simple. You got to do what's good for you and your business, 100%. Yep. And you're never going to convince anybody otherwise. The people who are stuck in their ways and will argue about it you're never going to be able to convince them otherwise. The other thing I wanted to do real quick and tie this into the conversation about this core framework product is when working with custom Gutenberg blocks. Now, I did a stream probably, I don't even know when it was, a couple months ago with Taylor Drayson, and we talked about custom blocks and how, they may not be right for everybody. But it dawned on me recently when I'm talking about wanting to build these sites just screamingly fast and not think about spacing or, any of those kinds of things. It's like you could feasibly build custom blocks and incorporate a framework like this. So all you're doing is dropping in the actual custom block that you made, switching out the content, which is very simple. I'll show you how in a second. And then you're done. And that's kind of what I want. So I think, I'm excited about this approach for that reason. So here's another install that I have. And what I've done is in Block Studio, I don't even remember what I was doing here or which one it was. Maybe it's this one. No, it's not that one. I'm not super adept in Block Studio just yet. Okay, so here is what I was working with. And this may be a little bit overwhelming at first, but honestly, it's not that difficult when you really kind of dig into it. So with Block Studio, you're defining a kind of a set of JSON that defines the fields that your user can manipulate on the front end. So what I've done is I've created what was essentially supposed to be like a hero section. So the attributes that you're giving this person for this particular block is a line 1, which is like the headline, line 2, which is like subtext, and then the actual image. And then in the PHP, you're giving it a class of, hero section or whatever you want, so you can style it. And then you can pull in the data from those Gutenberg fields. So, our line 1 is going to go to that H1, and then our line 2 is going to go to a paragraph tag. So then, if I go look at it on the back end, I'm going to delete this real quick so you can see it. I didn't give this a proper name, but you can see currently it's called native block. I should have renamed it like hero or something. But if I add this, then you can see the beginnings of this. So like, I wonder if there's a way to do it here, like edit it just as you would expect in the block editor. But if I just come over here, I can just say like, hello, this is my site. And then there is the message. Then, subtext goes here. Then you can open the media library and grab your image. And of course, I haven't actually styled this hero section. It's got the text on the top there. But what's really cool about this to me is it goes back to what I was saying earlier on with client sites is with the block editor and the types of sites that I'm building for larger businesses, they have marketing people or those that are adept with WordPress enough that they can come in here and add components and not completely detonate the site, but they're also not going to know how to use these tools inside and out. So giving them the full scope of being able to, modify colors and fonts and all that kind of stuff is not a good idea. So with this approach, you can let them edit the content or even add a new block if they want to, but it's sort of predefined. What that goes back to though for me is that with this, you have to create some CSS for this. So, your block doesn't have really any styling. Obviously I would, want to give this a color of white or whatever. And then if I save, we should be able to refresh and then see that our H1 is white. Yeah, there we go. So you see, you still have to do a bit of styling here. And my thought is combining a tool like, the core framework with some of these custom blocks is suddenly you're not having to do anything. You don't really have to give any consideration to font styles and colors and alignments and that kind of stuff because those classes exist for you. And if you need to manipulate them, you can go do it from that dashboard and then it applies out across your site. So, for me, this is something that I'm really, I've got my eye on. I'm not deep in the trenches of doing this yet, but it is something that is very much on my radar. I think that the custom blocks approach is slightly more advanced, but it's one of those things that really feels like for me, it's going to have a lot of extra work on the front end for huge payoff later on. I create all the UI with bricks. My clients don't need to change things. The most that they can do is add blog posts or custom posts. And for that, custom fields is the answer, not Gutenberg. Yeah, I mean, I spent many years building out just comprehensive sections of, custom fields for clients to go in and manipulate. Interestingly, when I step back and talk to clients who have actually used it, it's frustrating because there's a severe lack of what they see in the back end versus what the actual front end component will look like. Not necessarily for simple blog posts, but for more comprehensive pages and posts, for interior landing pages for marketing purposes or for, like services, CPT that has a variety of different services. Sometimes they need to be rearranged and there's all kinds of different things. Exactly, David. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. Custom fields are a pain in the ass for users. We think they're easy and great because they are. They're really cool. But if you step back and look at it from the perspective of a client that doesn't really know, there's just this field that has no visual representation of what's going to happen on the front end. And then you update and bam, there's something there. So they got to kind of go back and forth. So the clients that I thought I built something really cool for with, groups of custom fields and flexible content and stuff like that, turns out it's a huge headache for them. And it's not something they can really convey because they just don't know that there's another option. But with this kind of approach, it's visual. You have a limited set of things. This is exactly what we're talking about. There's a custom field essentially that you pop in your content to, and it gives them enough flexibility to change things and, add and rearrange components, but with enough kind of lockdown that they're not able to screw anything up, which I think is the advantage of custom fields just in general. Like ACF gives you that ability. So all of that is to say that, it doesn't matter what framework you use, you could absolutely pull off this approach in whatever way you want. And the thing is, I think that this would work with sort of like a block library, if you will. Like if there was some sort of custom, or not custom, but some sort of community-driven library of content that you could submit blocks to and pull blocks from, which is something that I'm thinking about in the back of my head as a future endeavor, is some kind of library that would be either super low cost or free. And, just a community-driven effort to build up block libraries like this. So there would be a huge pool of content that you could just drop right into your site. So that way, if you don't know PHP and you're not that adept with CSS, you can just pop it right in. That's something for the future. I've owned the domain for what I would call this for a long time, and it's just not something I've been, really pushed for. Andre said, I understand, but the clients can break the site with your method, right? What kind of access do you give them? I would like to see that. In terms of what they could do to break it, they could delete it. So there's that. You have, of course, the lock, lock components built right in. So you could disable movement or parent removal. So there's that component to it. So, people, if somebody really wanted to screw it up, they could absolutely still do something. But with this block approach, they're not able to change anything without going to, this section of the site. But this is locked down to administrators, and you can even lock it down to specific users to see the code that you've created. So, in terms of what they could do, somebody with, ill intent absolutely could. The vast majority of my clients, though, are not like that. All they want to do is get done what they need to get done, swap out some content, add a new post, go from there. But the other thing that I think is worth mentioning is most clients don't even come into the back end of the site. The vast majority of them have us do it for them. And then there are those, like I said, the larger clients who have some kind of marketing arm inside the business or another marketing agency doing content for them. So those people are, they're not going to come in and try to destroy things. I think I don't know. I just think this approach is, once you've spent some time with it and you really kind of explored it, compared to custom fields, which I'm a huge proponent of ACF fields. I still love ACF. I just did a video on it a couple of days ago. It's still extremely viable and usable, even in a Gutenberg site like this. So it's really all I have to say on that. I'm curious if anybody else has some extra thoughts. Because I think combining these frameworks and custom blocks does have a use case, even without custom blocks. Like I will be using some of these framework tools in different ways. It's really valuable. And like I said before, the whole crux of this is that I want something that's just so dead simple that I can really not think twice about it. I can just build sites quickly and efficiently and spend more time on architecting and strategy and those kinds of things. How the site should function, custom functionalities like user access controls like I did in the video just a couple days ago, those sorts of things. That's about all I got this week. We're over an hour now. I think I'm going to call it quits and hope that the rain has gone away and that the sun is coming out. I really hope so. I just turned around trying to look out the door that's closed right there, which is shows how baked into this I am. Ivan, what's up? Question. I'm open for questions before we wrap this up. Let's see. Oh, I accidentally opened Photoshop. Thank you for showing it. I still prefer to use bricks. It's better for my workflow. And like you said, clients don't go to the back end if they do. Custom fields is good enough. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. I think that bricks is still a very viable tool. And it's just like Dave mentioned earlier, you got to do what's good for you and your business. And for me, this is the best approach. You can have my son. I actually, I live in Florida, so normally it's really sunny, but it's been like a week or two straight of just like rain and overcast clouds like the vast majority of the day. It's really strange because it's June. Should be near sun every day. It's the sunshine state. What the hell? When is the LTD coming out for PiCalendar? We're not going to have an LTD actually. So never, unfortunately. Not unfortunately, actually. That was a very intentional decision not to do an LTD. Let's see. I was trying to use GPGB with custom taxonomies. I have a CPT of class, and one of the fields is called teacher. I want to be able to access the teacher's title through dynamic fields. I'm glad, Dave. Thank you. Yeah, Shatton, we sure did. We sure did switch. I want to be able to access the teacher's title through dynamic fields. I think you're going to need a relationship field for that. Yeah, I think you're going to need a relationship field, ACF relationship, for what you're asking for. And I don't think it can currently do that. But I do think I saw a post that said something about the dynamic data was going to get better. Let me see if I can find that real quick. Trying to think, what is it? Dynamic data improvements, maybe? Let's see if I can find it. It was a forum thread where it was like, well, I mean, I've done relationship content. That sounds really funny. I've done relationship support content on my WordPress channel. I've done relationship field posts on my channel. Let me see if I can figure out which one would be the best video for you. The thing is, it used Oxygen, so that had support for relationship fields in some capacity. There's a video on my channel from a couple years ago called ACF Relationship Field in Oxygen Builder Repeater. The core of the setup of the relationship field and how it ties the post together is still going to be applicable, but the actual implementation is not going to be the same. The way that you probably have to go about that is with some custom PHP and like a shortcode or something to actually output that for now. This is something that you can absolutely rely on ChatGPT for. You break it down into small chunks, it can absolutely put something like that out for you. So it really depends. I mean, depends on how complex the use case is. There's probably a way to go about it that wouldn't actually require some, deep PHP. If you're trying to build like a dynamic link through taxonomy, I mean, even Oxygen struggled with taxonomy stuff because you didn't have a tax query. You just had the native posts. So yeah, it's hard to say. I don't think I'm really answering your question, but it's a broad topic and there's a lot of ways to go about it depending on what you're doing. You're welcome to send me a message with more info and I can try to take a look at that, and then almost certainly I can make some kind of content out of it. So that will be beneficial. Hope that's helpful. I think I'm going to call it quits here. A little bit over an hour. Thank you guys, every one of you, for hanging out and joining. Covered a lot of ground today in just a single hour. It feels like a long time ago that we talked about Google domains. So I appreciate all of you. Next week, I want to make sure that you are around for Thursday. Inside Link is going to take place on Thursday because next Thursday is 1 year since the breakdance announcement. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go take a look at Oxygen for the first time in a year. I mean, obviously, like I've said many times, I still have clients on it, but I don't log into Oxygen that much and I don't use it. We're going to take a look at Oxygen for the first time in a year. I'm going to reconvene and just go over the last year and what's changed and how the WordPress ecosystem has changed. I want to hear from you what's changed in your business in the last year. So it's going to be an interesting time. Like I said, Inside Link is Thursday next week, so it's going to be good. I'll see you next Thursday morning. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.